Today, I'm going to be showing each and every one of you how you can make some dirty Memphis type beats for Denzel Curry's King of the Mischievous South with ease. And you know how we do it here? We like to keep the intros nice and short, no dilly-dally, no hoopla. So with that being said, the beat we're going over today sounds a little something like this. Alright, so the first part of this beat that I want to go over is sound selection because it's arguably the most important part. And 90% of the sounds from this beat are from a kit that I got off of Reddit. And it's called the No Name Plug Kit Volume 1. I'll link it down below. Like I said, it's completely free and it has a bunch of super sick and authentic Memphis type drum sounds as well as some acapellas. But yeah, other than that, you can get away with pretty much any VST for the melody because it's going to be really simple. So with that being said, the first thing that we're going to go over here is the melody. And for this beat, I only have two melodic components. The first of which is this super gritty synth from Analog Lab. And before you ask, all the presets that I use in this beat are in the description below. So if you're wondering, you can check out the description. And in this melody, we're in G minor. And all we're doing is making use of the 1 of our scale, which is G, as well as the 5 and the 6, which are D and D sharp. If you want to make your melody sound super dark and sinister, you're going to want to make use of both the 1 of your scale, as well as the 5 and the 6. And if you want more notes to play around with, the 2 and the 3. These notes, the 2 and the 3 and the 5 and the 6, are one semitone away from each other. As I mentioned, D and D sharp. And having that small interval between notes really adds to the darkness and eeriness of your melodies. So with that being said, I'm just playing a super simple melody that repeats itself every single bar. And then the second melodic component is just some strings from Kontakt. And similar to the previous melody, we're making use of the 1 of our scale, which is G, as well as the 5 and the 6, D and D sharp. I know I say this in a lot of my tutorials, but half-step intervals are literally a cheat code for making dark and sinister melodies. So with that being said, this is what these strings sound like. And that's quite literally all we have in terms of the melody. You don't really need to go crazy. Though the majority of your focus is going to want to be on the drums, which is what we're going to go over next. And some things for the drums that are absolutely essential is a super low and rumbly 808. As well as a kick playing a more complex pattern than the 808 plays. You don't want them to play the exact same pattern for these kind of beats because it sounds kind of stagnant and isn't really super unique. The next thing you're going to need is a snare hitting on the 2 and the 4 while also playing some additional counter notes. And as well as that, something that is absolutely essential is going to be a snare roll. Now, I like to have my snare rolls playing with a different snare sample just because it adds to the depth of the drums. It's not just the same samples playing the whole way through. The next thing you're going to need is a hi-hat playing a basic 2-step rhythm. And this is optional, but I humanized my hi-hats a bit by offsetting them from the grid very slightly. And the easiest way you could do that is just to go to the top left up here, go to Tools, and then go to Humanize. And then this knob right here, the start time range, is going to adjust where it is on the grid. So if the start time range is at 0, it's completely quantized. But if the start time range is at 1, it's greatly varied. So with that being said, this is what the hi-hats sound like. And then the final thing you're going to want for the drums is going to be an open hat hitting on the downbeats. So with that being said, this is what all of the drums sound like together. And now the final thing that you're going to need in terms of constructing your beat is going to be some kind of Memphis rap acapella. Now the kit that I mentioned before has a couple of acapella samples and the one that I used is from this kit. Though if you search on YouTube Memphis rap acapellas, there's like 40 million playlists of just acapella samples from classic Memphis rap. And you're going to want to make sure that your acapella sample is at a lower pitch than the original song. So with that being said, the acapella that I'm using for this beat sounds like this. Now, the final thing that I want to go over in terms of this beat is going to be the mastering. And mastering for these kind of beats is super important. So on my master, I only have 3 plugins. The first and most important is going to be Sketch Cassette or any kind of vinyl or tape emulator. And the reason why this is so important is it gives it that vintage tape sound. As well as that, Sketch Cassette has a saturation knob, which I boosted to about 45%. And I bring the age down just a little bit more than halfway. And then the other 2 mastering plugins that I have are on every beat, so it doesn't really make too much of a difference. But the first of which is going to be Soothe 2, which essentially just tames any kind of like resonant frequencies in the beat. And then the third one is just going to be a soft clipper with the basic settings. So without any of those plugins, this is what the beat sounds like. Just sounds super like dull and uninteresting. And then yet again, this is what it sounds like with all the mastering plugins. Alright, so with that being said, that is going to completely cover how to make some dirty Memphis type beats for Denzel Curry's King of the Mischievous South. I really hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. If you have any questions, please throw them in the comment section down below and I will do my best to answer them. Also, consider checking out my Patreon where I post the FLPs to all of my beats in all of my videos, including this one. That way, if you wanted to study the mixing, mastering, arrangement, melody, drums, all that kind of stuff, it's right at your fingertips. And finally, consider subscribing as I post 1 tutorial a week and 1 sound kit a month. Other than that, it's going to be it. Peace!